This is Car Guys New England, your YouTube channel for anything automotive.
Cause it's bit bad, she want me to back. Like tips at the front, lift up. I'm fly like a pelican in my bed. I like get my wave hella quick. Like to get a hook up on the elephant cut. My trunk, yeah, it's in the front. Of course, it's in the back. It's a big, it's a real big difference. You just want a club. I just need them racks. You just want a party, so I just want a rock star.
This is Jay with Car Guys New England, and today we have the Redcat 64. We're going to be putting this chrome frame in the car. I have my Hex drivers, and also I have these bell cranks in chrome to put on. But first we're going to start taking this apart so I can put the chrome frame underneath. Since there's no videos showing how to do that, I figured I'd show you guys. So using our 2mm hex, we're going to remove the screws holding in the exhaust. There's 3 per side, and then we'll be able to take the chrome exhaust off to give ourselves room so we can work on this. All right, so the 3 screws on each side have been removed, so at this point we can actually just take the exhaust right out. So we'll do that. And let's put these exhaust pieces just in a safe place. So next we're going to take the True 13s off. Then we're going to remove the screws that hold on the long arms. We're going to pop off the short arms, and we're going to undo the struts with the screw. And then the drive shaft, this is an aftermarket one, it'll just separate. So I'll just pull that away once I have all of this taken off. Using the 1.5mm, you're going to remove the long arm nut and also the strut mount on the rear axle, and then I'll put the screws back for safekeeping. And there's the rear axle removed, and you'll notice I left the screws on there to easily reassemble it and so I don't lose any parts. I wish I had the chrome casing because I'd do the rest now, but I don't. So I'll have to do that another time. But now we're getting to the point where everything's disconnected from that end of the frame so far. And now I just have to start taking apart the front end here. So using the 1.5mm hex, I'm going to remove this arm off of the bell crank. And then also there's these retainers down here that we're going to take off. And then I should be able to separate the entire front end from everything. So we'll see what happens here. Okay, so the bell crank has been removed. So that's all set. Looks like we got 2 small screws there. Then also these screws on top for the steering. And then we'll see how all this steering stuff comes apart. And then at that point, I'm really hoping I can just take the entire front end out. And then at that point, it should be easy peasy as far as getting the frame out. Right, so now we're going to remove these small screws that hold the steering stuff together, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so the steering has been removed, popped off of that servo arm for the steering. The lift arm has been disconnected. So now we need to flip this over and remove a few more screws. So using our 2mm, we are going to remove the 4 screws on the steering piece, and then we're going to remove these cross member screws. This piece is loose. I'm actually going to pop the ball sockets on the steering arm, and I should be able to just remove this piece very carefully. All right, so the steering stuff's out of the way. I just have these 4 screws that I need to take out, and I should be able to take the entire front end out. So now there is nothing holding the frame in from the bottom. The entire front suspension assembly is loose. So now we got to flip this over carefully, and we're going to start getting some things out of the way so we can get the screws holding the frame out. So we'll get started on that. So you'll see these tapered, and these are 2mm screws. Along the frame here. Some are actually hidden underneath the servos, so we're going to have to take out the servos. Another screw. We're going to remove the servos to get at the screws. As you can see, they're hidden there. But anyways, we'll be able to, once we get the frame out, slip the front end out. So I'll change out these bell crank housings on those. But I do have to remove all of these servos. So I'll get started with that, and then we'll move on to the next steps. So there's one servo out of the way. Now we're going to take the steering servo out of the way. Okay, now the rear servos are out of the way, so we can get at the screws back here as well. So now we're going to start taking out these panhead screws that hold in the frame. And it looks like we got quite a few that are going to go into this. So this is going to be fun, taking all these out. But we'll get it. And it looks like there's some plastic that we're going to have to remove from that as well. So we'll get started on this and take care of it. All right, so all the screws holding in the frame have been removed. So at this point, you can see I already lifted it up. The frame's coming out. So I just need to slide it back, and that'll release this this front assembly. And then we'll compare the frames. So I just took out the frame, and you'll see on the gas tank side it has a ballast in that. That'll need to be transferred over. Also, any ball connections will have to be moved over. But looking at the two frames, if you look at them, you'll notice that there's some bits on the plastic one that'll have to be trimmed off. And then we're just going to move this weight, and then we can put that in once we change out the bell cranks on the front of this. Now, as far as the front's concerned, we can just lift it up, and the entire front end is out of the car at this point. So we can change these out. So in this new frame, we're just going to trim out this piece of plastic, and then the one on the end using just a sharp box cutter. And then we'll put in the weight, and then we'll add in the those ball sockets from the other one. So the weight has been installed. I trimmed out the other parts of that. So I'm just going to put this aside for now with the other frame. And now we are going to move on to the front end here, and I'm just going to change out these bell cranks real quick. All right, so we're going to take off this piece that says Redcat. It got the screws on it. And now there's just some pins holding in these pieces. And I just left the screws in for a reference. So I'm going to pop those out, get these pieces ready to go, and then we'll put those in. So I have the new piece here. I'm going to have to take the bushings out of both sides of that and the screw, and then this is ready to go. All right, so I got the front end back together. So it's almost ready to go back. One quick mod that I'm going to make actually is I'm going to drill the bottom of the cross member so it has a little bit more room to sit a little bit lower. So I'm going to take care of that right now. All right, so we made the holes in the bottom of the front cross member. Also, I got these little ball sockets on there. So now I got to get the front suspension into place. And then I'm going to slide the frame underneath, and then I can start bolting the frame in. Front suspension's in place, so now I'm going to slide the frame underneath and get that into position. So the frame's in place. I just got to line up the screw holes, and then I can start screwing in the frame and reassemble everything. So the steering servo has been reattached, and I'm just going to screw in the hopping servo. All of these screws are in the front there. I still have to attach the front end, but we're moving along here. So the front end is screwed back in. I got to flip it over, and there's two small screws on the very front going down. All right, so we're getting the rear axle back in. I just got to bolt in some stuff. Just quickly put the exhaust on. I haven't cranked that down because I'm going to use a chrome paint pen on the screws. But we're definitely getting really close, and then I just got to put the steering stuff back in the front end. So the rear axle is back in place, and now we can put our attention to the steering rack, which I have over here, and I just got to switch some parts out, and then I can slip that in, and then put the final piece of that bell crank in. Using the 2mm hex driver, you're going to take the two screws off of here to remove the steering stuff, and we're just going to move it over to this chrome piece. And then we'll be able to install that into the frame. Right, so the steering's hooked back up. Just going to use the chrome paint pen on the just the screws near the exhaust. So they all look like chrome. All right, so the entire undercarriage is all set. So I'm going to flip it over, and now I'm just going to install the last arm and reconnect the steering servo arm and the lift arm, and we are good. All right, so we put the steering cap on this, and we're going to do it on the other side, and we'll tighten down the 2 screws. And the front end is back together. All the screws are in. Now we just got to hook up this steering servo, and we should be good to go. Just snap that in. Got it. So we are good. All right, and that is how you install the chrome frame and the chrome bell cranks in the Redcat 64. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like. If you have questions or comments, be sure to comment down below. This is Jay with Car Guys New England. Until next time, take care.